ready for playoffs? I'm going to ignore her, and she's going to slowly start pulling that across the hallway. Let's see where it goes by the end of this. Maybe by the time playoffs are done, she'll have the entire thing out of the apartment in some capacity. But welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to playoffs and the pit.
Into the pit! Into the pit! Everyone get in here!
Going full Necrit today. Lounge pants, gaming shirt, gaming hoodie in some capacity. Why not? As is tradition on the pit, we have 2 in memoriam sections for you all. For Lion, I'm genuinely confused a little bit because it seemed like every time that we talked about this squad, at least for a good bit of split 1 and then most of split 2, it was like these guys are better than people were giving them credit for. But every time it came to a stage game, they couldn't get it done for whatever reason. Like when it mattered most, like they just mentally collapsed, and a 2-1 loss to Dignitas was genuinely just shocking. Even though I wanted Dig to win, to be clear. I'm not saying that like, oh, I wasn't expecting this or wasn't cheering for it. It's like, I was hoping for it. Somewhat expected after game 1 and how Dignitas won that they might tilt off the face of the planet, but Lion was able to win that game too. But it didn't matter. And now here they are, 2 straight splits in a row where they are eliminated first. And with that, likely comes roster changes, as apparently ODLAN talked after their series loss that yes, changes will be coming to this roster for Split 3. I have no clue who they pick up. I have no clue what they do, but at a minimum, it's gonna be interesting to see, because I'll be honest with you, like I don't engage with this org at all, really. All their content's in Spanish entirely, so it's like I don't pay attention other than unless they're good, then maybe I'll notice, but like beyond that, I don't know. So I don't know what they have to do to get to be top tier. I don't know whether they look at different residents, whether it's in the NACL, but we know that there's a pretty substantial gap as shown by Surdy and some others that are coming up from the NACL scene that takes time for them to develop. And for one specific split in 2025, I don't see this going over well. The second in memoriam, Disguised. I mean, this was to be expected, I think, from pretty much everybody. They went out in brutal fashion, getting absolutely demolished by 100 Thieves. And I don't know where you go from here if you're Disguised. I mean, the reality is you're prepping for relegation. Like, at Split 3 in the LTA is nothing but a warm-up for them to make sure that they do not get relegated. You have to prep to play against Luminosity or whoever the hell is coming from that tournament, including, don't forget, an LTA or like a LLA team that like comes in to that. That's all that matters for them at this point. So I don't care how you have to retool this roster. I mean, Abadage, I'll be honest with you, still is the one that I'm looking at. Like, yeah, he's got to get changed out in some capacity. But in general, this roster just ain't working. And I think you give Scary Jerry some more time for sure. But you got to try something. Because at the current pace that they're in, I mean, even though they were able to steal some games from people, it really didn't ultimately mean that much. And I think the drive and passion that's going to come from the NACL team that wants to qualify up might be able to overcome the difference in hands that naturally will exist between LTA and NACL teams. I'd be worried if I'm Disguised. You are at significant risk of getting relegated and your brand just kind of fading away in League of Legends, because now that you've gone off to pro and failed, it is very hard to overcome that reputation of sucking. Trust me, ask any Optic fan. We were used to it after that first year. Looks like she gave up about halfway through, but with that, let's kick it over to LTA Fantasy and our preview of the upcoming matches. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very interesting week ahead of LTA Fantasy, as we only have 2 matchups, 2 best of 5, so the amount of options that we have is going to be incredibly limited. But as always, if you want to join the Shy Knockers, our LTA Fantasy group, be sure to do so, LTAFantasy.com. The direct link for my particular group is in our Discord. Be sure to join in, talk about fantasy as we go along. And currently looking at the leaderboard, I have dropped again, as Beans is still first, and my roster this past week, let's not talk about it. I'm ping-ponging back and forth like it's freaking ridiculous. Like, oh God. Thanatos and C9 dropped the ball so freaking hard when I picked them. So that's... You compare this to the prior week, we're talking like, oh yeah, 6-point difference between Sniper and Thanatos, but 27 for Bucio the week prior and 4 for Vulcan. I should have kept my freaking thing. I should have done it. Damn it. But for this week, we have 3 people that I currently have picked that we have to get rid of. So we are at Unfortunately, the odds of the market right now to see who we want. And I'll be honest with you, I'm looking to get rid of C9 players. So let's just go in and wipe everybody. We're starting fresh, and I only have a budget of 58.3 to spend. That's really, really not good. I know there's a lot of people that are going to be high on like C9 bouncing back this week and that it was, oh, it was just FlyQuest who looked ridiculously good. No, I believe in the spawn belt at this point. Like, I don't care whether you think Yuji has nerves or not. I don't care about any of that. We already saw a very close 2-0 from C9 over Team Liquid just, 2 weeks ago now? But even then, like, TL was in the driver's seat for game 1, and then game 2 just did not rebound. I legitimately do believe with UG in, assuming that he is able to pop off in these moments and the team is just going through that kind of honeymoon stage with him a little bit, plus Spawn actually cracking the belt down on this roster in general, I think the series goes the entire other way. I think it is going to be Team Liquid over C9. I would like to see this go the distance, like the full 5. I think that'd be really entertaining for all of us. But then when you look at the FlyQuest versus Shopify series, I know Cloud tried to make the argument this week that Shopify always plays FlyQuest close, and maybe, but I just feel like playoffs is a different animal. Like, this is one of those moments where we kind of discount the difference of how serious certain teams take playoffs. And whenever they come into these moments, it's like, okay, Shopify might be able to take a game. I don't think they do at all. I think FlyQuest is a lot more in tune now. Like, they were like, you're working hard. Like, to compare this to swimming, you're working hard for most of the season. Okay, really hard. And because of that, you're not always playing at your quote unquote best in the regular season. You're not always swimming your fastest times because you need to taper at the end so your body's more relaxed, more rested towards the end so that you swim your personal best at the times when it matters. In League's case, it's kind of the reverse, where you have teams that will really go into crunch mode and like really play the game and really lock in, so League is nothing but their life. And they'll do that more towards the end, whereas the beginning, it can be a little bit more loose, especially for teams that are going later into the year. You start triple blocking the later you go. So with that in mind, I think the top teams are going to get astronomically better as this playoffs unfolds, or at least like the division between the top teams and bottom teams is just going to be exacerbated. You either got to go with as many TL FlyQuest players as you can possibly combine. And I'm going to try and pick like the cheaper of the two for now, like just going through Core JJ is like the first one that I'm looking at. I mean, the most picked that you're probably going to say is, well, it's going to be a best of 5. So we're going to see a lot of different champions here. I could see something like the Core JJ Rakan, maybe, even if obviously I think the Rel is probably going to be the most standard one that people look at, but I think Rakan might go for him unless it gets picked by the other side. They are playing C9. Vulcan is a pretty good Rakan player and does enjoy it, so maybe. But I'm going to stick with Rakan on this one. Bot lane side, Masu is way cheaper. I'm going to say that he gets an Ashe game for sure at some point. APA, way cheaper. Wait, how many points last week? APA had 27 points last week, Quad at 21. Perfect. APA works for me. It's a best of 5. Surely Ziggs gets through at some point, right? Or even is Ziggs? Do they have him hit 1.3 for him? Damn. All right, let's go with the 1.7 multiplier. Let's say he busts out the Aurelion Soul at some point. It'd be a wild like call out of nowhere, but I think it'd be funny. So I'm assuming if you pick Umpty, you also notably get Yuji as well, given that we don't know who's to. Oh wait, no, Yuji's only 7 points. Interesting. Oh, that's a steal. Are you kidding me? That's an absolute steal. And we'll give him Viego just because I don't know his champion pool all that well, and that opens up top lane to pick. We're not getting Whippo, that's for sure. So Impact it is. Why not? Say he busts out the Shen. Why not? That's wild that you can actually get Yuji for a different price than you get Umpty. But I guess my question would be, if Yuji plays but Umpty doesn't, or if Umpty plays and Yuji doesn't, does that affect your fantasy points and how they get them now that they're both on here? That's interesting. Because in the case that Yuji is not, or in the case that Yuji's not playing, you have to go with either contracts. I mean, I kind of have to go for contracts. I don't have any more points for anybody else, so I just YOLO it. All right, that's fine. I'm fine with my team there. We can make changes all the way up until 11 a.m. on Saturday. So hopefully Team Liquid tweets out who's starting at some point in time prior to that. but I'm really happy with how this roster turned out. That's cool by me. Finally, in terms of some of the major headlines that exist beyond everything, obviously the one that people are talking about most this week is Team Liquid Honda, or well, Team Liquid no longer being Team Liquid Honda. I covered a lot of that on the Rendezvous and kind of dove into things there. I'm not going to touch on it again. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Next week, I can confirm that I'm actually going to be going on the LTA report with both Cloud and Marn, and we're going to be talking about content, as I'm also going to have a video coming out on Monday because I went through and tracked every single team's social media data on YouTube and TikTok. I manually input the views that each video had, the date that it was published, and the type of content that it was. If it was a YouTube video for shorts and TikTok, it was a lot harder to get those things. And I'm going to publish all of my findings. They're already available on Twitter, but I want to break it down and tell you some of my findings, some of the things that I think we need to address in terms of content from North America and strategies for every single org moving forward on what they need to do to try and make their YouTube content better, and most importantly, posting on TikTok, because I outpost every single org on TikTok 2-1, and it's not even close. And I get it, this might not sound like a lot, but I just made $200 yesterday alone on TikTok. If some of these orgs are not taking TikTok seriously as a content platform, and that's without like a sponsorship for the video, that's just based on ad revenue alone, yeah, you should be. So we'll talk about that on Monday. Just wanted to preview that that's going to happen, and there's going to be a longer form podcast to go alongside of that later in the week, which should be really, really fun. And finally, I'm really happy to say that watch parties are expanding. There's a watch party in Texas. I think it was Austin. I'll put it on the screen. I'm not remembering right now. But if you're in Texas and you want to go watch, be sure to do so, because we don't have the final location announced yet for the LTA. But all I'm saying is pay attention to these watch parties. They're a good way to grow a fan base. And maybe if you get enough people to show up to these things, it encourages Riot to say, hey, maybe you should have an event in our area if we're consistently turning out people, in the same way that I'm preaching for Riot to have an annual New York City event. Please work with me. Let me help you promote an annual event here in New York. It could be 2,000 people, it could be 5,000 people, whatever you want it to be. I think a Broadway theater for a night, like a Broadway takeover, an LTA Broadway takeover would be nuts. And I promise you, I'll be out there every day pitching that for 6 months. I will make sure there's not an empty seat in that theater at all. Just let me do it. Let me help you find a way to make this work, because if the LEC can make roadshows work, so can we, at least on the team side. And I know New York has the audience for this. Just trust me. Let me help you. Let me work with you, please. Anyways, that's it for the pit this week. Be sure to turn out to any watch parties if they're in your area. Let me know in the comments, how is your fantasy team looking? What are your predictions this week? Do you have any other thoughts around the LTA that you want to get out there? And I promise you, I will wear normal pants next week. It's just rainy and crappy here in New York, and I don't feel like dealing with it. Bye-bye.